Seek refuge in God from Satan accursed. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Inform them about Abraham's guest. When they entered his quarters, they said, "Peace." He said, "We are apprehensive about you." They said, "Do not be apprehensive. We have good news for you, an enlightened son." He said, "How can you give me such good news when I am so old? Do you still give me this good news?" They said, "The good news we give you is true. Do not despair." He said, "None despairs of his Lord's mercy except the strayers." I guess I'll pause right there. I like when he says, "None despairs of his Lord's mercy except the strayers." There's there's been times, I guess, in all of our lives, including myself. I think how the devil comes to us, or has come to me, is making the believer forget how merciful God is. Ar-Rahman, Ar-Rahim, the most gracious, the most merciful. And the fact that Abraham was saying this is a pretty good pointer into never despairing in God's mercy. I'll continue. He said, "What is your mission, O messengers?" They said, "We are being dispatched to guilty people. As for Lot's family, we will save them all, but not his wife. She is destined to be with the doomed." The messengers went to Lot's town. He said, "You are unknown people." They said, "We bring to you what they have been doubting. We bring to you the truth. We are truthful." So I always liked the story of Lot. Even when it talks about it in the Bible, in the Gospel, the Old Testament, these were really wicked people, and I remember it's mentioned in multiple parts of the Quran, in different ways, in different perspectives, but it's a recurring story that we see throughout the Quran. So it's always like paying attention to when I see recurring, just like with Moses and the Pharaoh, Lot and his people, etc. But yeah, I think they were the first in the world to commit such an abomination. I remember reading that it says no one else in the world has ever committed something like you, practicing, such evil behavior. And it sometimes why when the truth comes to a believing congregation, like a disbelieving congregation of people, it's like, why do they insist on going astray? Like, where does this come from? Are these people born this way? Were they just destined to go astray from the beginning? These are some of the questions I have. Okay, I'll continue. You shall take your family during the night. Stay behind them and make sure that none of you looks back. Go straight as commanded. We delivered to him this command. Those people are to be annihilated in the morning. The people of the city came joyfully. He said, "These are my guests. Do not embarrass me. Fear God and do not shame me." From what I understand about this verse is these people were sick and wicked, and even in the Bible, they I think the angels even blinded them. As it also says in here, they were blinded because they came to Lot with with wickedness and lust in their hearts, and they deserve to be punished. They said, "Did we not enjoin you from contacting anyone?" He said, "Here are my daughters if you must." So even Lot's saying it's pure. Whatever these people have intended, it's still purer for you. It's a natural law and order of God's creation. The male and the female. Satan always comes in and he corrupts, he perverts, he destroys that which is natural, that which is beautiful, that which God has designed, this world to be. If we were designed any other way, the human race would go extinct. Or if people just like these people were to roam, or the human race would go extinct. That's just a proof right there. He said, "Oh, but alas, they were totally blinded by their lust. Consequently, the disaster struck them in the morning. We turned it upside down and showered them with the devastating rocks. This is a lesson for those who possess intelligence." It's even today. I remember reading some years back the actual location of Sodom and Gomorrah. They still can find I don't know if it was archaeologists, or whatever field in their profession, but they found high level. Nothing will grow there. It's nothing will grow there. No plant life, and it actually measured pretty high levels of radiation where they believed to be what not even so much believed to be. I'm pretty sure they have factual evidence where the modern day Sodom and Gomorrah is. Nothing will grow there. It's amazing, but there's so many like it says there's so many proofs, and lessons and stuff like this. There was Noah's people, Hud, Thamud, Lot, Midian, the Pharaoh, people of the canyon, and God annihilated every one of these people. But I think I remember in the Quran there's a verse that says he will never annihilate, or he will save if there is one believing man, or a small group of believers. He will save them. He will save them. Your Lord never annihilates any community without first sending a warner. Okay, I'll continue. This will always be the system. This is a sign for the believers. The people of the woods were also were transgressors. Consequently, we avenge from them, and both communities are fully documented. The people of Al-Hijr disbelieved the messengers. We gave them our revelations, but they disregarded them. They used to carve secure homes out of the mountains. I like how we're given a description of these people's homes and how powerful some of these people, or at least they would think. God says, even the generations, your ancestors were even more powerful, and the ones who succeeded, the ancestors and generations of people who succeeded their previous ancestors who were annihilated and wiped out. They wouldn't take heed to the fact that, well, if those people were wiped out, you'll definitely be wiped out. So there's no need to be arrogant and put, think you're going to be safe in however secure, your home and your town and your structure is in these mountains. a disaster can come to anybody. Okay. The disaster the disaster hit them in the morning. What they hoarded did not help them. We did we did not create the heavens and the earth and everything in between them except for a specific purpose. The end of the world will come, so treat them with benign neglect. Your Lord is the creator, omniscient. We have given you the 7 pairs in the great Quran. Do not be jealous of what bestowed upon the other messengers, and do not be saddened by the disbelievers, and lower your wing for the believers. Yeah, verse 87, we have given you the 7 pairs in the great Quran. Someone, please correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the 7 pairs were those letters that are said at the beginning of the verses, or excuse me, the beginning of certain surahs, the 7 pairs of letters that Dr. Rashad Khalifa, the messenger of the covenant, he was able to compute, and with the miracle of 19, that I remember specifically reading about that mathematical miracle, and I was taken aback. There's so many mathematical intricacies and miracles and beyond human comprehension that I'm still finding like new. It's almost like it doesn't run out. It's the proofs, and that just proves that this book is beyond human aid. it's from the owner, the source, the creator. Excuse me. Excuse me. All right. And proclaim, I am the manifest warner. We will deal with the dividers. They accept the Quran only partially. By your Lord, we will question them all about everything they have done. Therefore, carry out the orders given to you and disregard the idol worshippers. Yeah, verse 91, where it says they accept the Quran only partially, there was it reminds me, it was actually one of the, I'm so grateful and truly, sincerely grateful and humble that, and thankful to God that I was, my father was able to come across the first version, the true version, and the way the Quran was supposed to be made, the true Quran, the unadulterated Quran from Dr. Rashad Khalifa, the messenger of the covenant. He found, he somehow stumbled across it, and that's the one that I began reading. And I remember my heart was open to knowing, seeking, the truth, wanting to know the truth, and that's what I pretty much thought most of, the Quran and Islam is. I didn't really know hadiths and sunnahs, and then over over a couple years, I see so many hadiths and sunnahs that contradict verses out the Quran. And it's just like this verse says, they accept the Quran only partially, meaning if they claim to put the Quran as the first source, but when I see certain hadiths, and there was a comparison chart, I think that the messenger of the covenant had made, like with X, Y, and Z problem or topic, here's the Quran verse that confirms it or dispels that, and then here's the hadith. And it's as clear as for a child to understand. But these people insist. I don't know if they're wanted to go astray or if they're just blinded, but they put other sources other than the Quran first and only accept it partially. And that's I never can understand that. I've even talked with some people in person. I used to work for some people from Lebanon, and they were big on that. All right, I'll continue. Verse 95. We will spare you the mockers who set up another God beside God. They will surely find out. You shall sing the praise of your Lord and be with the prostrators and worship your Lord in order to attain certainty. So, yeah, the people who mock, those are people I haven't dealt with too much, and I'm sure we all have maybe come across them, but like in verse 96, they will surely find out, everything on the day of judgment, the day of reckoning, everything will be made clear, and that's the beautiful thing. When I remind myself, I said there is no argument, between me or you. If I'm talking to somebody and I smile and I'm very humble about it, I says, because everything, will be, when you know the truth, and some people have willed to go astray, or God sends them astray, and so you can only say peace, and be can carry on your way. But that's the beautiful thing. It's I've come across people, and I just say, and they usually get kind of quiet and they actually think about it. The last person I talked to, and you could see I really meant it. I said, everything is going to be made clear, and the truth will be brought forth, and falsehood will vanish, on the day of judgment. And verse 99, and worship your Lord in order to attain certainty. In the footnotes, it says the practices of worship are a means of attaining certainty. So the 5 contact prayers, the Zakah, Hajj, God willing, I'll be able to, go one day, God willing. Fasting during the month of Ramadan, I think it's April. I'd have to check again, but it's April 5th, I believe. But yeah, these practices, when I started making my contact prayers, and I like the verse that comes to mind. It says, "You shall be reverent," or the believers are those who are reverent during their contact prayers. That's there's been times where I've trembled, just I've wept during prayer and stuff, and it was the most freeing feeling, that I've gotten, and I've never experienced that with growing up as a quote unquote Christian. It's how can I deny, something that comes from deep within the soul? I think it, a deeper connection to God was made, and I'm always looking for areas of improvement every day, but yeah, the one thing that it's like sometimes I believe we all know and understand this, but the certainty is something that I've really I've really find maybe to be a rare thing with a lot of people, even those who say, when I talk to my Christian friends or and this and that, I can see that there's doubt in their eyes sometimes, and or when they talk about something, it's they might have like, if I were to percentage, if I were to percentage maybe like 80%, but like 100% certainty is like the greatest feeling in the world, because you're going to be held accountable one day. I know, and I don't know when the time of death is appointed for me, the time or place, and I think that's a huge blessing, because if we did, I'm not saying I would or we would, but part of us would be like, okay, I'm going to die on this, and this day, and this year. Well, let me just, live this way. And in the last 3 to 5 years of my life, I'll change. And in a way, it's like the fact that we don't know that's good, because we can live every day, doing our best, constantly, seeking forgiveness and walking humbly and always willing to learn new things in the Quran and, God willing. Okay, I guess I'll continue over to Surah 16 to B, since this surah is ended. In the name of God, most gracious, most merciful. God's command has already been issued, and everything has already been written. So do not rush it. Be he glorified, the Most High, far above any idols they set up. So in the footnotes, Message in the Covenant wrote, everything is already recorded. See also Appendix 14. That's I guess it's hard for myself sometimes I believe it fully, and but when I think about it, it's very, I guess, how small my brain and my understanding is about certain things, with God's, the nature of God and how immense, and that's an understatement. I believe that's why he has many names, because no one name is sufficient. The many names he's referred to in the Quran, and he has the most beautiful names too. And okay, I'll continue. He sends down the angels with revelations, carrying his commands to whomever he chooses from among his servants. You shall preach that there is no other God beside me. You shall reverence me. He created the heavens and the earth for a specific purpose. He is much too high, far above any idols they set up. He created the human from a tiny drop. Then he turns into an ardent opponent. And he created the livestock for you, to provide you with warmth and many other benefits, as well as food. They also provide you with luxury during your leisure and when you travel. Yeah, as the Messenger of the Covenant says, the animals, when they opted to repent and before we came to this earth, they were to perform a submissive role on this earth, and God, out of His mercy, He uses them to provide us with many benefits to humans, and that's a blessing right there. Because if there's so many different, like Surah 16, the bee I was reading on submission.org, how crucial the bee is for all the plants. About half the plants, and this is backed up by science and evidence. About half the plants and beautiful flowers and things we get to enjoy, and beautiful things to look at in God's creation, they would they would be gone if it weren't for the bee and its pollination and all that. And so there's so many little things that every day, we can look around and be thankful for. And okay. Verse 7, and they carry your loads to lands that you could not reach without great hardship. Surely your Lord is compassionate, most merciful. So yeah, like again, imagine having if we didn't have oxes or those camels or how or even I mean, who would pull our wagons, or the caravans? I mean, if we didn't have these strong, very beautiful and amazing creatures, and not only that, they submit to the human being in the sense that a horse is told to walk or to run. It is provided it's trained, or it does as it's told. It doesn't rebel. Because imagine having these animals, right? That's a blessing in of itself. But then we can't control them. They're out of control. They're not doing as they're told. So it's like double mercy and double blessing that we have them to begin with, and that God has made them, submit to mankind and help us. And he created the horses, the mules, and the donkeys for you to ride and for luxury. Additionally, he creates what you do not know. God points out the paths, including the wrong ones. If he willed, he could have guided you all of you. Excuse me. Yeah, that's a verse that maybe I would like to hear some of the fellow submitters and believers comment on, because that's something I've seen many times in different parts of the Quran in different contexts. But if he willed, he could have guided you all. So I guess being that God is God, he knows. I think I forgot who it might have been, Dr. Rashad, the messenger of the covenant, or it could have been a footnote or in the appendix, but he said he knows who deserves to be redeemed and who deserves and is destined for retribution, and he knows what's in our innermost heart. He knows our level of sincerity, and that's a beautiful thing that he knows. He looks within that deep, because if we know ourselves, God knows ourselves better than we know ourselves, and we know ourselves better than other people. And I'm grateful that despite my some of the paths I've taken before turning to submission completely, devoted my entire life to redeem myself. He still had enough mercy and patience, with me. And looking back, I think he knows, he does know the innermost sanctums of the heart and even parts where, we aren't even, he's as close to angels in him, or as closer to us than our jugular vein. That's awesome. All right, verse 10. He sends down from the sky water for your drink, and to grow trees for your benefit. With it, he grows for you crops, olives, date palms, grapes, and all kinds of fruits. This is sufficient proof for people who think, yeah, if the variety and these fruits and these different foods that we have, it's sometimes like even when I pause and think, it's like, man, I can't believe how I overlooked just like the variation of colors and the different tastes, the amount of the taste buds he gave us to taste the different differentiating of the different fruits and the textures, and it's like, man, there's a design, there's a designer behind this. There's something far more, uh, you know, far beyond our understanding. That, this just happened by random, you know, universe. It just had we came from amoeba. Like some of these atheists saying to see. Um, but for those who would have an intellect, as God has stated, they would take heed. They will take heed. For those who possess an intelligence, they will take heed of the many signs. Suleiman, do I continue, or is it? Okay, I'll continue. And he commits in your service the night and the day, as well as the sun and the moon. Also, the stars are committed by his command. These are sufficient proofs for people who understand. And he created for you on earth things of various colors. This is sufficient proof for people who take heed. And he committed the sea to serve you. You eat from it tender meat and extract jewelry which you wear. And you see the ships roaming it for your commercial benefits as you seek his bounties, that you may be appreciative. And he places stabilizers, mountains, on earth, lest it tumbles with you, as well as rivers and roads, that you may be guided. And landmarks, as well as the stars, to be used for navigation. Is one who creates like one who does not create? Would you now take heed? Yeah, all these, there's so many laws and systems. If the sun and the moon, if the sun were to be even off, I think I remember the article had come out. If it were off a couple degrees, or if the Earth was a couple inches of degrees away from the sun, we would freeze. And if it was a few inches, I don't remember. Excuse me, I don't remember the exact type of measurement, but it was very, very minute. If it was a bit too close to the sun, we would eventually burn up, and everything would die. And I mean, that's something that it's like subhanallah, how to there's so many things that are working so perfectly. And I guess because we're born into this world, and I guess it's maybe in our nature, or we see these things every day. We've woken up every morning, the sun rises, and so we expect it to rise. Same thing with the night, we expect it, but that's perhaps we get accustomed to these things just happening. But when I think about it, it's like, well, who is the sun, or is the night, is the earth, and does an earth have a mind of itself? How is it turning? Like, who or what makes it turn? And then I quickly realized, like, oh, well, there's something that's making it spin and rotate on that. Oh, and that's God, and what is making it revolve around the sun? What's and it's like, well, who, even with the cells in our body, there's trillions of different cells, and this is probably one of my favorite, because it still stumps me to this day. But it's like something so small, and there's so many different types of cells for different organs in the body, and they each have an a function different from others, like heart cells, brain cells, kidney cells. And it's like, how do they even know which direction to move and what to do, and the commands that they have to carry out? And there's something so small, and it's like, it's doesn't have, it's almost like it has a brain of its own. But how does that even, obviously it doesn't have a brain, but it's amazing. You know, that's probably something I think about from time to time, and it's a good reminder for myself. You know? All right, verse 18. If you count God's blessings, you cannot possibly encompass them. God is forgiver and most merciful, and God knows whatever you conceal and whatever you declare. As for the idols they set up besides God, they do not create anything. They themselves are created. Yeah, it kind of reminds me of Abraham when he destroyed the idols, and they came to him in a rage, and they asked him, well, who destroyed it? And Abraham, I like his answer. He said, oh, it was that one, that big one. Ask him if he can speak. You know, and then they got so angry, you know, and these idols, they themselves were created. And I think there's last night I was when I was listening to Dr. Rashad Khalifa version of the Quran. It says even the idols fear something about the idols fearing their Lord, or when the day of judgment comes, even they themselves, fear God. They are dead. They are not alive, and they have no idea how or when they will be resurrected. And I'd like for somebody, God willing, to maybe comment on that. They are dead, not alive, and they have no idea how or when they will be resurrected. So perhaps I've always, I guess, thought of it, and maybe they're non-existent, but when the day of resurrection comes, perhaps God will bring them to life to bear witness against those who worship them. Maybe someone can comment on that, or give us more insight into what that means. God willing. Your God is one God. As for those who do not believe in the hereafter, their hearts are denying, and they are arrogant. Absolutely, God knows everything they conceal and everything they declare. He does not love those who are arrogant. Yeah, that's I believe that's God. Arrogance is probably one of the most abhorred traits by God. If I had to, and I believe arrogance is like, where does it come from? And perhaps the ego. The ego should have probably has something to do with the arrogance, and it goes back to the Iblis, Satan. He was too arrogant to worship Adam, and that's almost an insult to God, because he said he perfected man, he perfected his creation of Adam, or once he perfects it, he ordered. I'm sorry for paraphrasing, but the angels prostrated, and the fact that Satan did not, that's almost insulting God's creation. Saying, "Oh, that's." I never thought of it that way, but when I heard, I think in Surah 7, the Purgatory, when in the beginning, it's you're actually insulting, not only you being arrogant, but you're insulting your creator's ability to create something. It's like, you should submit and say that's an awesome creation. Praise be to God. The new creation he brought from the potter's clay. Verse 24. When they are asked, "What do you think of these revelations from your Lord?" they say, "Tales from the past." They will be held responsible for their sins on the day of resurrection, all of them, in addition to sins of those whom they misled by their arrogance. What a miserable load. Others like them have schemed in the past, and consequently, God destroyed their building at the foundation, causing the roof to fall on them. The retribution struck them when they least expected. Yeah, it's just like we read earlier, and with the people of Lot, the retribution comes to the disbelievers and the transgressors when they least expect it. Even the day of judgment, for all God knows, it could be a blink of an eye away or even closer. But he did promise us that believers, we will be protected and well secured on that day, and it's the disbelievers and the transgressors and the wicked that their eyes will be horrified, and it'll come to them once they never expected, and that's praise be to God. Then on the day of resurrection, he will disgrace them and ask, "Where are my partners that you had set up beside me and had opposed me for their sake?" Those blessed with knowledge will say, "Today the shame and misery have befallen the disbelievers." Yeah, the idol worship, the partners, setting up partners with God. And I know the messenger of the covenant, I believe he said idol worship, idolatry is whatever occupies your mind most of the time, which, yeah, that's so true. And even myself, I could say when I was younger, probably, and as a teenager, I idolized Jesus. I used to even draw pictures of, not that something's wrong with that, but you're taught that he's God or he's the Son of God. But when I asked, these are genuine questions. I was like, well, if he's God, well, if he's the Son of God, then how can he be God? And I would just ask these very, not even rhetorical questions, but these very logical, and they would run in circles with their answers, and eventually it would trip me up so much that it's like, well, who do I pray to, God, or and right there, it's a proof that God, like he says, he places the instinct of worshiping him alone and into our hearts, the natural instinct. And that's what I was searching for so long, because it just never made sense, to worship, well, who, okay. Okay, maybe I don't know if I should stop there or.
Yeah, I think that's a good place to stop, Carlo.
Okay.
Excellent. Thank you.
MashaAllah. Thank you, brother.
MashaAllah, brother. Thank you.
Yeah, MashaAllah, brother. Thank you. Praise God.
Yeah, MashaAllah, brother. I really enjoyed it. Thank you.
Thank you all too for having me. Thank you, Suleiman.
Sure, welcome, brother.
MashaAllah, brother Jab. Thank you.
John, I think one of your questions was you were saying that one thing I wanted to say was that there's a lot of things in the Bible.
Brother Behnam, sorry, I think you are not muted. Could you please mute yourself? Brother Behnam? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So, there are a lot of things in the Bible.
I'm sorry, my English not good. Do you have Persian language?
سلام برادر بهنام. خیلی خوش آمدید. ممنون میشم اگر سایلنت کنید گوشیتون رو وقتی داخل جلسه هستین تا انشالله فردا ببینیمتون. سایلنت فقط باشید فقط میگید. مرسی، ممنونم. ماشاءالله.
The good thing is that we have like Persian speakers here, okay? Brother Suleiman, go ahead, please.
Sorry. Yeah, I was gonna say. Also, if anyone's on the web, we can always mute also from there. So I think. But I was gonna say. Sorry, I think this. Sorry about the background noise also over here. But I was gonna say that there's a lot of things in the Bible that are not very accurate, and so like I think one of the things Brother John mentioned was it says that the angels blinded them, but we see that it wasn't like literal blindness because it's not confirmed in the Quran. They were blinded by their lust, so they couldn't see what they were committing was wrong, and but the angels came as humans, and so they couldn't blind them physically, literally, but they were just pretending to be normal people that were guests of Lot, but the people were actually just blinded by their lusts. And I think one of the other questions that was raised was were these people destined to go astray, or were they naturally wicked, or something? Am I?
Yeah. That's something of I wouldn't say I struggle with, because it's as far as the struggle's not the right word. I guess maybe to understand. That's something I would love to understand. Even my own dad, we have these talks sometimes, and it was are these people when they see signs or proofs, and like they even know, like, but they choose to just go directly astray. It's like, why would you choose to do such evil when you know it's going to send you to the fire? It's like, were they destined to be wicked from the where our in the previous, like before we came to this earth, did they do something wicked? When in the great feud in the society, that's something I've always wanted to understand.
Right. So I think as far as God is concerned, we are all either believers or disbelievers, and you can imagine like a stamp on everybody's forehead, whether someone's a believer or a disbeliever. But as far as we're concerned, we have the complete choice to choose between right and wrong, and between God and Satan. But God knows exactly which souls are evil and which souls are good, and according to that, He assigns the souls to the bodies, to people in different homes. For example, like Pharaoh was assigned to be the Pharaoh in the body of Pharaoh on earth, to come and oppose Moses and be destined for hell. But as far as he was concerned himself, he had the complete choice to be the arrogant person, a disbeliever he was, or to be guided. Like his wife chose to be guided, and he didn't. So we have the complete choice, and so people who decide to be on the right path, it's a simple concept that people who decide to be on the right path, people who are sincerely seeking God guides them, and people who choose to go astray, God says He leads them on. He says He even encourages them. God gives people enough rope to hang themselves. So that's pretty much in a nutshell.
MashaAllah. Thank you, Brother Suleiman. And yeah, Appendix 14. That's some really good stuff that helps
Yes.
So, Brother Suleiman, go ahead, sister.
Okay, Assalamu alaikum. Yeah, as Brother Suleiman said, the first choosing is ours. So we are independent. It's not there that God is sending the human race to Australia, or God is sending the human race to be guided. It's our choice. That's why we are born with free will. This is God mentioned in the Quran. And so after that, because so many people, they are just confused that they think that when they read the Quran, that, okay, God is sending them astray. So why God is sending them astray? So what is the fault? Why they should be punished and go to hell? But when a person who reads Quran, the whole Quran, and sincerely try to understand it, then this concept becomes very clear by God's grace, that God do not send anyone astray unless the people they choose to go astray first. So this is just, I wanted to add a little bit in Brother Suleiman comments, mashallah.
So mashallah, sister, and mashallah, brother Sulaiman. So I have one question. So basically, based on Appendix 14, the third paragraph on the left page that Shima has shared, it says, even before we were born into this world, God knew which souls are good and which souls are evil. So basically, we have already made our choice whether we are going to be guided or we are going to commit evil on this world. And that is why people are actually assigned to different bodies in different geographies and in different actually families and different times. Does it make sense? Please make it clear for me if I want to understand. We have already made our decision before we come into this world to be guided or to do evil, right?
No. We haven't made our decision, but God knows which ones of us, which one among us, are evil and which ones are good. God knows that, right? Because God has already seen everything that we are going to do. But as far as God is as far as we're concerned, we still have the choice to choose between right and wrong. But as far as, sorry, I have food in my mouth. But as far as so
do you want to take your time, brother?
Yeah, I have a lot of meat in my mouth. Yeah, so that's what I was going to say. As far as we're concerned, we have the complete freedom and complete choice, and we haven't made every decision, but God knows what decisions we are going to make. But it's not that we inherently but God knows which souls are good, which souls are evil. Inherently, because
inherently we have that free will, but it is only God who knows whether we are going to make the right choice or the wrong choice, right? Okay. Thank you. MashaAllah.
Yes.
That's why that shows the quality of God Almighty, that God is God. So that's why it shows that He is the only one who is worthy of being God.
Yeah, also, mashallah, God says that everything was already written before you even came to earth, something like that. It's one of God's awesome quality that He knows the future. He exactly knows. I mean, many times He uses hell in a past tense, that for Him that has already been witnessed. But for us, like if you go back in past and then you talk to people and you talk about the present time, you're going to talk to them what the events are happening right now in like a past time. Oh, that already happened. But they will be like confused. So God didn't create Adam and all the human race and choose that, okay, this person is going to hell and this person is going to heaven. No, He created all us equally in a different, you can say forms and stuff, but we are all equally created equally. It is just one of His ability that He knows exactly what's going to happen. Even if you think about it in the worldly matter, like even a teacher, when the class starts, teacher have some common sense about the students. Okay, this student is going to excel and this student is not going to be doing good. So in that sense, the teacher decides to pay attention to who and seat them in a place where the person who really is a seeker, so that person can gain knowledge, and the person that causes problem in the class gonna sit that person far away, that okay, he's gonna cause more problems, so I don't want him to disturb the class. So even a human being can do that. So in that same sense, God knows what exactly his person is going to do. And the stamp that we have on our forehead, it is because God has already witnessed the hell and already has witnessed the day of judgment. He exactly know who is going where. That's why the stamp is on us. But it was our free will choice that we made that decision to go to hell. But his ability that he already knows us, mashallah. Praise God. And many of these things are so complicated that we try to think, but this is God's system. I mean, even Moses could not understand when the person that he was going with in Surah 18, that he killed a young boy. And one may ask, why did God even give that child at first place to those righteous parents? Then why God killed the kid? I mean, these are all God's system that he knows. The knowledge is with him. We cannot understand. Even Moses could not understand. But this is where we start to learn that we have very limited knowledge. But what God gives us, we just go with that and just trust God, mashallah.
Yeah, mashallah. And we shouldn't forget that there is a reason why we came to this world, right? Like Satan, he said that he could be a god, and some of the souls, they said that Satan could be a god also, and they wanted to witness this, right? And Satan is still standing there and saying that he can be a god beside God, and God gave him this earth to show him wrong. So God knows everything. God knows exactly who is going where. But the thing is actually that it needs to be proven, right? Also towards us and towards Satan. MashaAllah.
Yeah, and they create this earth. There are many reasons which we may understand on the Day of Judgment. That one of the reasons God wants to show every creature of His that Him alone can run this earth. So He wants to prove that too to everyone. And this is one of the byproduct of all this event that has taken place, mashallah, that we understand.
So, can I ask another question from the group? So, for example, when somebody finds this miracle, the miracle of Quran, the mathematical code, and then we accept it and we understand it and we believe in it, is it us deciding to believe in it, or is it the provision and the predestination of God that we are believing in it? Does it make sense?
Can I answer that, inshallah? So I think it could be a combination of both, because according like the example Brother Ali gave, mashallah, it was a very good example of a teacher. Then when you are a hardworking student, the teacher makes sure that you get the extracurricular activities and things like that, so that you can be the top of the class. So it's like the quality of your soul and also the guidance that you receive, I believe.
Brother Masood, can you repeat your question again?
Yes, my question is that as last time that we were talking about finding this guidance, it's like finding a needle in a haystack. So, and it's not so easy to come across this knowledge. And other than that, after you come across the knowledge, accepting the knowledge, okay? So my question is that in the first place, is it us finding this, or is it God that wants us to find this? And then the second part, is it us that believe in it, or is it the provision and the predestination of God that wants us to believe in this? Is that clear?
Right. I mean, as far as our free will is concerned, God gives us the choice, right, to believe or not to believe. And God is the one who guides us. He helps us, but ultimately the decision is ours, whether we want to believe in it or not. I mean, it's God's decision to put it in front of you, right? Obviously, you can control coming across the message, right? But it could be your actions, you imploring God, you sincerely wanting to seek the right path. that as a result, God answers your prayers and guides you and brings you the message, then it's your choice to be sincere about it, right? Not for show off, not for any other reason. So God makes you someone, who will truly believe, who will not be a hypocrite, and who will accept it and follow it. So it goes hand in hand, right? I mean, you do your part, God does His part. But it's not something entirely on God in that sense. I mean, obviously, as far as God knows, I mean, the whole thing has played out already, including the consequences that continue in the hereafter. That is beyond our comprehension. But really, you have the free will to make choices based on what's given to you. What is sent to you. Like God, like if someone's a soul that God knows, deserves to be guided, for example, God would put him in front of the message somewhere that he will come across it somehow, make it possible for him, because God knows that this person, deserves the chance to, accept the true religion and follow it, and in the same manner, I mean, someone could be the worst person in the world, worst soul on earth, and God could choose to give him the message because he and make and let him decide to be a hypocrite. I mean, this person decides to be a hypocrite because God knows that this person deserves the lowest pit of hell, is the most evil person, if that makes sense.
Yes, mashallah, that's clear. Thank you.
Also, mashallah, brother, I also noticed that every scripture has God has protected in a way that only so much falsehood could enter, but the real message is saved. Even Bible and even in Hindu scriptures, the message is written very clearly that you should not make any statue of your God. That how they make statues, and that your God is one God, and these are messages that are written, and even in Bible there's not a clear statement where it says that he says that I'm God or I'm Son of God. Trinity is not even mentioned. I mean, a sincere reader who's very sincere with God will read the Bible, will come to this conclusion. I mean, I have met, several Christians in my experience, and they become so reverent and they say, we don't believe. They said, one guy even, I said, praise God, and he said, no, praise Almighty God. I mean, so even whether finding miracle of 19 or not, even somebody is sincere no matter where they're born, God gives them enough information for them to ponder and look into it and come to this conclusion, and then they say that they will see that there's God. And if they follow the trail, I mean, whether it's God's, that He will bring them to miracle of 19, but if they're sincere, they will find the truth wherever they're born, mashallah.
Yeah, I also like to comment on verse 87, mashallah. Verse 87 talks about the 7 pairs. So 1587, it says, we have given you the 7 pairs in the Great Quran. So this is basically written inside the appendix 25, end of the world. So if you see, it says it will not remain hidden. It says, verse 15 of Surah 20 informs us that the end of the world will be revealed by God before the end of the world. And verse 15 and Surah 15, verse 87 gives the time for that event. It says, we have given you the 7 pairs in the Great Quran. The 7 pairs are the 14 Quranic initials. The total geometrical value of these profound pillars of the Quran's miracle pinpoints the year of the end of the world. It is noteworthy that verse 85 of Surah 15 states, the end of the world will surely come to pass. The next verse, 1586, tells us that God is the creator of this world, and of course, He knows when it will end. The following verse, 1587, tells us when the world will end. As shown in Table 1, the geometrical value of, quote-unquote, the 7 pairs of the Quranic initials totals 1709. See also Table 1 of Appendix 1. According to 1587, the world will survive for 1709 lunar years from the time this prophecy is stated in the Quran. This means that the world will end in the year 1710 after Hijrah. This number is a multiple of 19. 1710 equals 19 times 90. And you can see the table 1 here. It has all the initials, the 14 sets of initials, or the 7 pairs of initials, and you can see the geometrical value there ends up to be 1709. So the unveiling of this information took place. The unveiling of this information took place in the year 1400 after Hijrah, 309 years before the prophesied end of the world. And 1709 minus 1400 equals 1309. The number 309. The number 309 is a Quranic number, 1825, and is connected with the end of the world, 1821. The peculiar way of writing 309 in 1825, 300 years increased by 9, indicates that 309 are the lunar years. The difference between 300 solar years and 300 lunar years is 9 years. And so then it also says the year of this discovery, 1400 after Hijrah, coincides with 1980 AD. And 1980 plus 300 solar years is 2280, also a multiple of 19, 19 times 20. Thus, the world ends in 1710 after Hijrah, 19 times 90, which also coincides with 2280 AD, or 19 times 120. For the disbelievers who do not accept these powerful Quranic proofs, the end of the world will come suddenly. That's it. So, yes, mashallah, thank you for sharing it on the screen as well.
Yeah, mashallah, praise God. You know how He created solar and lunar years with the difference a little bit in Surah 18, the sleeper of the Ephesus, and how everything is so precisely matching and coming to multiple of 19. I mean, one can just say, oh, glory be to the one who created everything. Praise God. As you were mentioning, the distance from the sun for the earth and all these things are precise. And if they go off just a little bit, and that's just the distance, and many other things that if they go off a little bit here or there, we don't have life on earth. Such a precise calculations, and also the speed of the earth that is rotates, when in the morning time, it's a little bit cooler because that part of the earth was on the other side of the sun, so it kind of starts cooling off, as we know all the time. And then as soon the sun starts to come up, it's going to start getting hot. If the earth was rotating on its axis, slower than what it is, so the day may be 36 hours or maybe 48 hours long, but then it will stay in front of the sun for a lot longer time. That it will like if those countries where the temperature goes up to like 100 degree Fahrenheit or 110, like in Middle East and some part of the world, then it will even go up to like 150 or 160 when the people will die. So, or if it slows down and the day will be like 12 hours long, then it will stay. Then it will be the other thing will happen. So one or the other. Actually, it was the other way around. If the rotation is faster or slower, then it will be either way too cold or way too hot. So everything is, mashallah, precise. And another thing, if you ever ponder that, when you light a fire, it burns for until the fuel is gone, maybe 2-3 hours. Maybe when the forest and jungles catch fire, and for maybe they burn for a few days, but after the fuel is gone, the fire dies. Just imagine the sun. It is burning at the same level of heat for millions of years and millions of years to come in the future. That is, heat is exactly the same intensity. It doesn't go down or high. Just imagine how in the world a giant star made of gases only is burning and precise control by itself. I mean, otherwise, in reality, we would see that something catches fire and all of a sudden the whole thing catches fire and burn and then dies. But it's the way it's designed without any elements in it. It's not like there's stove in it and gas is releasing slowly. I mean, the way the sun god design is the heat is constant, and for millions of years, it's like a year later the sun heat is going down and down. I mean, so much to be pondered, mashallah.
So if there are any others and questions or comments, if not, inshallah, we could conclude our session for today, if you agree.
Yeah, mashallah, I'll just wanna add something real quickly. We had our Urdu Quran study the other day, and in that we're talking about the divorced women and how you amicably you treat them. So after the study, I mean, I started realizing, mashallah, that how God is so merciful, so kind, that I mean, in any situation, He wants us to behave in the best possible way. You don't treat people badly. I mean, it's not even that God said only treat the believers very nicely. So very very important one part. And the other thing I want to, mashallah, that we learn is that when you are doing something to someone, good or bad, when you're giving charity, when you're being kind to other, I mean, even to the extent that the messenger of the covenant even says that if you see someone coming and this person is making faces, you cover up for them. Why? You don't say that, start thinking in your head that this person doesn't, this person is bad or something like that. You say, oh, maybe this person make it. You cover up for them for your own good, not for that person. So whatever we are doing today to anyone, we are not benefiting anybody. God is the one running everything. When you're giving money, you're not the one giving money to that person. God could have made that person wealthy and rich, so He gave us chance to help this person. So we are not the one doing anything to anyone. Whatever today we do, whether even somebody give you a hard time and you respond them with good, a nice behavior, whether it was, they insulted you or whatever it is. If you're doing good, you are doing good for your own self. And those women that they got divorced and God says to treat them amicably, let them live in the same house. So you're not doing it for them. Basically, you're doing it for your own self. You're doing because God says, and for your own self. Because today you may try to gain benefit by getting upset with them and doing bad things to them, but that will come back to you in with huge interest later on in this life, and who knows what happens in the hereafter. So today, if you do something bad to someone, just remember you are harvesting, you are seeding a plant for yourself, in the coming near future. That's you're gonna harvest. And I have seen many stories in my family and outside. I've studied people that they did bad, and it happened. It happened so badly to them that they didn't even realize. And then when asked, then remember what you did, and at that time they were shocked. MashaAllah, praise God. Okay, sorry, brother Masood. Now we can end, inshallah.
No, you're mashallah, you're fine. No, I mean, there was a long silence, and I thought that no one else has anything to say. But thank you for your comments. Thank you.
MashaAllah, praise God.
Yeah, mashallah. I wanted to add one more thing, that the messenger of the covenant, he gave us actually the key, right? And that is, God is running everything. Like, if you really think about it, in anything that happens in your life, you use this key and everything, it will come to you that you're not doing anything. God is doing everything. So if you help someone, actually God is helping. If you're doing all the things that you think that you do is actually from God, all the good. So we should remember that God is running everything all the time. MashaAllah.
Yeah, I just had one question. I think when I was reading, the last one was verse 21. Or I'll start on verse 20, and I'll hit your valley. As for the idols they set up beside God, they did not create anything. They themselves were created. Verse 21, it says, they are dead, not alive, and they have no idea how or when they will be resurrected. So, yeah, I'm not sure how to comprehend that verse. Obviously, these statues and the the pagans, the Roman pagans, the Greek pagans, and the Hindu, whatever. These statues of Zeus and all that. So were different idols. Thoa or Nasser, I think, is another one that was named in the Quran. It says they are dead, not alive. So they're statues or whatnot. But how is God gonna give them like maybe a body? When it says they have no idea how or when they will be resurrected. So obviously these statues and idols will bear witness against their worshipers. So are they perhaps like the wicked jinn, that are posing? You know, is that maybe the answer?
Masha, yeah, that's a very good question, John. I was gonna say, my understanding is that this is referring to actual people that humans idolize. Like Jesus, Muhammad, and like all the saints, and there's many people that people idolize, right? So this is referring to these people that they will be resurrected on the day of judgment. But as far as people, like, people worship a lot of things. People worship money, people worship symbols. I mean, all those things cannot be resurrected. It's just to say that.
Okay, that's a good answer. That actually makes sense. Thank you, Brother Suleiman.
Sure, you're welcome. Inshallah, I think another is interesting that you read these verses today. When I woke up this morning, I just opened the Quran randomly. I was in a hurry, and I just ended up reading the same verses this morning, the exact same verses that you read, mashallah, from Surah 15. So, mashallah, I mean, these are good reminders for us, and especially, we live in an era also where, homosexuality is such a thing that, means these people are so defiant, and, they want, quote unquote, their rights, and they want they want people to recognize, what they're doing as something righteous and innocent. But we learn, and then there's other people who believe that, these people are genetically inclined to be this way and things like that, and they can't help themselves. But we know from the Quran, that it's a sinful act, and just like other acts, there are people that are kleptomaniacs that want to be thieves, or people that have other serial killers or pedophiles. In fact, there's pedophiles that also have similar. There's people that also have similar ideologies about pedophiles, that they think that what they're doing is sort of natural, or is something that they're naturally inclined to do, to gain sympathy and recognition for their lifestyle. But we know that these are all sinful acts that are, abominations, created by Satan to mislead people.
Thank you, brother Suleiman. Yeah, that's it's demonic in so many levels, and it's really sad that it's like you said today. I mean, homosexuality is being pushed upon. I don't have any children, maybe God willing one day. But it's being pushed upon the youth, in schools. It's trying to be normalized, and it's like you said, these people. I think deep down, in these people that are willingly committing these transgressions, they know it's not natural. They know it's wicked, and so the only way to cope with it is that they'll be able to sleep better at night once they get the rest of the population to accept their belief and all that. But it's never enough, It's I remember my dad. He got pretty upset one time, like about he was ranting about the stuff, but he said they also steal. They steal the word gay in the 1960s. Like the American sitcom Leave It to Beaver. Gay was actually a very good word. It meant happy, excited, whatever. They steal that word, they pervert it, they twist it, because there's nothing good about these people and what they do, so they have to take that which is good. They've done the same thing with the rainbow, and they only think they're twisting it and perverting it, but it's sad that it's like it's if you walk around with a rainbow T-shirt, or a rainbow bumper sticker, just praising, truly from the heart, praising God, or you talk about it, like, man, look at that beautiful, and then it's been so, it has such a stigma attached to it, because of the hijacking of these people. They take that which is good and natural, and they corrupt it and twist it. And ultimately, I don't really even get mad at these people. Not anymore. I'm abhorred with the behavior, but I really look at who's behind, and it's the devil. It's Satan. Ultimately, getting like Dr. Rashad Khalifa says, the people of this earth are his constituents, and these people have willingly sided with these abominable acts, and and then I just can't understand why. Not that I need to understand, but it's how does these people really must be, the willful transgressors that are, engaging in this stuff and all kinds of evil vices. They really must be truly wicked. They must hate all that is good. They must hate, they don't think they're going to be held accountable for in the next life. And, one of the biggest things when I that allowed me to accept the Quran was when the message of accountability, that's when me and my dad started reading and listening to he started listening to Suleiman's narration back in 2011 or 2014, and I started maybe a couple years after. He'd be in his office just playing or whatever, doing work on the computer, and we talk about it every now and then. But he was also looking at a lot of the history of the corruption in Christianity, which actually facilitated coming across the Quran, and it was a book sent to dispel of the falsehood and confirm the truth. And the message that I got from was accountability, and I was like, man, that makes perfect sense. I say, because just like in this life, like in this temporary abode, like this world, if you do evil, if you hurt somebody, if you murder, steal, this or that, you're going to be held accountable and subsequently punished. Be put in jail, put in prison, vice versa. So that's like a universal kind of, I guess, societal law, cause and effect, and even in this life. And I guess it's an allegory for how the next life is. It's like, okay, you do bad in this life, at a morality level, it makes perfect sense that, okay, you're gonna be held accountable before you're created in the next life. And it was so logical, and it was so like when I heard it, I was like, man, this is finally something that makes perfect sense, and I would agree with it, because you don't know how much trouble I've had, like, growing up as a Christian, accepting, well, how come one man should bear the burden of the sins of the world? And I didn't ever mock it. I was always like, man, I'm trying to believe it. I'm trying to, but I always believed in God, but I just I didn't reject it, but I didn't accept it. I was just stuck in between, like, well, why does he have to die on a cross? Like, how is this symbolic to, why would he have to pay for the sins of the wicked? And it just didn't make, I was like, so people get out, like the Monopoly game, like a get out of jail free card. I would once like, oh, so is it a get out of hell free card? I was, and then when you're really wanting to be guided and seeking the truth, and when the truth is presented to you like it is in this, and the beautiful Quran, it's like, it's you see it. That's all.
Mashallah, Brother John. Actually, the thing that you said about Prophet Jesus are somehow, actually, they have been adopted in Shiite Islam as well, for one of the saints, supposedly the third Imam Hussein. And then when he was killed in Karbala, in Iraq, the modern day Iraq, many Shiites believe that actually that's one of the things that has happened to him to so that the sins of the Shiite Muslims be forgiven. And it absolutely doesn't make any sense, as you mentioned with Prophet Jesus. Why should one person be crucified for the sins of the other people? So this is one of the great deceptions of Satan, the rejected, that he has played this card in almost every religion on earth to actually cover up the truth. And I personally am really happy to know the truth, and that's a great blessing from Allah. So that's great.
Thank you, brother. That's amazing to hear. I did not know that that's happening in the Shiite part.
get blessing from God.
There's also another thing about Sunnis and also Shiites, that Sunnis believe that they believe in the second coming of Jesus, the same as the Christians believe, and the Shiites believe that there is a 12th, supposedly the 12th imaginary Imam that is actually hidden from the views of people, that he will come together with Jesus when the second coming of Jesus is happening to redeem the world. And it's really, a very interesting story that they have created to, again, cover up the truth from the eyes of the people. And many people have become hypocrites because of believing in these things, because they don't want to see the truth and they just want to believe in superstitions. And again, knowing the truth is really, really a great blessing from God. And many times, I try personally to tell the people, like close relatives, my parents, brothers, sisters, anybody that I see, the truth. But then what I see is that as the verses of Quran clearly state, many people think that it's tales of the past. Many people think that you're like, I am brainwashed. Many people think that I'm a disbeliever. And the thing is that what happens, you see, according to the verses of Quran, you understand what category of people they belong to. They are either disbelievers or hypocrites. And you see it clearly. As much as we don't want to believe that is true about our relatives and close ones, but if we go back to Quran, we see that the father of Abraham was a disbeliever. The father of Dr. Rashad Khalifa was a disbeliever, and many other people that, like the wife of Prophet Lot, was a disbeliever and among the wicked. So this shows that Quran exactly shows us examples that the close ones to you can be disbelievers and hypocrites, and we better believe that, because that's the tradition, that's the system of God, and we should see the truth. And when we see the truth and we force ourselves to be with the believers, then you strengthen your belief every day. And I'm really glad that we are having these sessions to talk about these topics, at least during the week, 2 English sessions, and for us 1 Farsi session, so that regularly helps us in strengthening the belief. Because as much as we believe in it, Satan and actually demons are trying to infiltrate into our mind and try to mess up information and say that sometimes these things are not true. And the only weapon that we have against them is to regularly attend the sessions and read Quran and to talk to believers to strengthen our belief and hold belief, mashallah.
Thank you, brother. Yeah, even when you mentioned those the people that were close in family to the believers, Muhammad's uncle too was one that I was like, man, I can't believe, someone that's so close to the Prophet Muhammad ended up, I guess, rebelling, or I think he's mentioned in Surah 11, 111. And yeah, it's sometimes like close family members. It's what you said. A part of us, when you almost don't want to believe, some that are still stuck in their idolization of Jesus, and that all your sins are paid for. And a way I've kind of got to accept it is like, okay, this person, maybe they deserve to believe this stuff and be led astray, because people choose, instead of choosing God's truth, they want to choose their own truth to fit what they secretly desire. They only let their ears hear what their heart secretly desires, and it's so true with I've talked to friends and boss and even family members. It's like it's so easy. Isn't it wonderful and easy? You can do this and this in this life, and follow some of the moral teachings of Jesus, whatever. But at the end of the day, you're saved. Once saved, always saved. It's an easy ride. And I'm like, man, I was just never willing to. I'd rather know something that's maybe a little. It's scary, the truth, the truth of accountability, the hellfire, the fear. But that fear is awesome. That reverence is literally reverence for the hellfire, more so than hope for paradise. This is actually the fear of retribution that has led me to, like, it's augmented my submission more than anything. The hope, for the hereafter paradise has played a part. But I was telling my dad, my brother, I said, it's it's not like a type of fear or reverence that disturbs me or stresses me out. It's something that's, I feel that it is healthy for my soul. It'll get my attention. It causes me to break down. Sometimes I cry every now and then, and it's like cleansing. But that's what's kept me in line. And a lot of people, they don't want to choose. I think there's a verse in the Quran, I don't remember where, it says choose the difficult path. And it says, what is the difficult path? It says the feeding of the poor, the treating of the orphans, right? That I'm kind of paraphrasing, but it's like, man, a lot of people want the easy way out, and that's what their hearts secretly desire. So I think that's possibly why a lot of them, they'd rather create their own truth and formulate their own truth through lies and contradictions in the Bible and stuff. And when it's clearly laid out before them, it's almost like as if they can't see because they don't want to see. They don't want to come to terms with, man, you do this and this, or you really have to be, even like, I think someone in this study, it might have been Ali, a few studies ago, he said, he might have said something that Dr. Rashad Khalifa said, even if you get into the purgatory, hanging by your big toe, that's still a great triumph, So, and that's very humbling too, to even realize that. And Musa, the Dajjal, I used to work for. He was pretty, good all around. Always treated me good. I used to work for a Sunni. I was at an antique rug shop back in 2016 and 17, and he was big into hadith and stuff. And what you said reminded me of him telling me something. He talked about the Dajjal, I think it's called, and the Antichrist, which is like, the Dajjal means like the same
Dajjal. Yes, exactly.
Yeah. And I was really, and thank God, God has strengthened me with the truth from the Dr. Rashad Khalifa authorized version. Because, man, I can't tell you, there's been a lot of stuff like shortly after that I've heard, like these Mufti Minks and these Muhammadiyans and these hadiths that, like, if you spit on your left side, that's the devil, that's the side the devil spits on, or don't sleep on your left side. Or if you feed, like, one of them is like, if you feed a cat, if you just feed a cat a bowl of water or something to show mercy to it, God will give you paradise. And I'm like, man, is this really what Islam is all about? And it's like that around that same time, it's like my dad and me were talking about the Rashad, Khalifa, and I was like, man, thank God, because I would 100%, had he not, or had I not found the Rashad Khalifa, I would have read, okay, this is the Quran. I would have thought hadiths and sunnahs maybe were part of the Quran, or you had to believe. I would have probably ended up rejecting it all, because I'm like, man, there's no way I want to believe in something that you feed a cat. And it's a hadith. this guy Mufti Mink, he's on YouTube.
These are exactly yes.
He talked about it. Like, man, you get paradise. Well, what if? Well, let me just go feed. It like makes no sense, and I can't understand how people will believe that. And I was not willing to believe that. And I was very close. I'm like, man, I don't want to have anything to do with this. But then you quickly realize, you know, the messenger of the covenant and the beautiful truths he uncovered. And it's like, I was just given so much relief. It's like, okay, this isn't. This is just like how they corrupted Christianity with the teachings of Paul, you know, and this and that, and you know, in the Bible they've left out so many other books. The Gospel of Barnabas, which I actually confirmed, the Quran confirms the Gospel, and likewise the Gospel of Barnabas, and these other things. Like, okay, this happened with Islam, you know, to the religion of submission, and then you realize, man, Satan is scheming. His heart is everywhere, like he in every mainstream religion, and it's like he somehow creeps, you know, into. But I'm just grateful that God guided me to the religion of submission.
Mashallah, I want to just say also, like, you know, they believe in all this nonsense. Like, for example, you know, they believe that. The person who, you know, goes to the lowest level of heaven, you know, will get 72 virgins, you know. And you know, I was watching this clip on Family Guy. They were making fun of it, you know, to say there's something, you know, and he says that, yeah, this is better sight, more satisfying sight than a suicide bomber, you know, getting 72 virgins in heaven. And then they say, you know, this terrorist blows himself up and ends up going to the gate of heaven, and then he sees there like 72 nerds, you know, playing video games. He cries, he says, "Oh, Sama." So yeah, I mean, they believe in all kinds of nonsense, and you know, rightfully so. They deserve to be, you know, the center of mockery for their actions. I mean, their fabrications. But these are the very reasons that, you know, people end up becoming, people end up rejecting religion altogether. You know, like they will go to one religion and see nonsense, and even in the Bible, like at least, you know, the Quran itself doesn't have. But for example, there's so much nonsense. Like 10% of it is just utter nonsense in the Bible too. And so they'll come across nonsense in the Bible, then they'll go to, you know, the Quran, and they see nonsense from the Hadiths and all this stuff, and you know, then they just go to some other religions and see the same similar things, and then they become atheists. You know?
Exactly, and unfortunately, many people see the translations of Quran, and since there are many like parentheses in between translations, and some of the time the translations are so holy that you don't even understand, you cannot comprehend the sentences that they're saying. Like, for example, Marmaduke Pickthall, Arbery, Yusuf Ali, Mustafa Khattab, you know, when you read their translations, sometimes you really don't understand what the verses are saying, although they are trying to have like a, and then you understand that they are like the translations are based on their ideologies. And since their ideologies are leading the way, then the translations are becoming nonsense. And then many people are reading the translations of Quran, at least the translations of these people, and think that what is Quran talking about? Because they don't have the correct translation. And subhanallah, we have the correct translation, and that's why everything makes sense. Alhamdulillah.
Yeah, and I think I just found out like 3 or 4 weeks ago. I think it was Dr. Rashad Khalifa's The Great Debate, but his translation of the Quran was, I think, the 19th one, like official, like, you know, like you said, Musa there, the Pickendall, which I was actually read. Like, my dad told me to avoid that, like the plague for some reason, the Pickendall. There's some maybe closer to others, but yeah, Rashad said he was the 19th one. It's amazing.
SubhanAllah.
All right, so I guess if there are no other comments or questions, God willing, we can conclude today's study. What do you guys think? Are there any other comments or questions? Or all right. So thank you all for joining us, God willing. Then thank you, John and Masood and everyone else for participating. God willing, our next study is going to be on Tuesday, God
Yes.
willing. And our teacher...
It's going to be me, inshallah.
Inshallah is going to be Masood, yes. That's correct. And then Saturday is going to be Shima, right?
Inshallah, yes.
Inshallah. Okay. God bless you guys. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum.
Salam alaikum.
Salam alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Thank you.